Dear Diary, I wish that people knew that moving to Canada doesn't guarantee wealth. I've come to realize that you can move to a more developed country in hopes of getting that ultimate dream, but if you don't know how their financial system works, that dream can become a nightmare real quick. What up everyone, CharisMaggietv here and welcome back to my channel and welcome to another episode of Diary of an Immigrant in Canada. For those of you who are new to my channel, I recently started this series so that I could share a bit more of my personal experience as an immigrant in Canada for anyone who's thinking about moving to Canada, or if you're a recent newcomer and you're trying to figure things out. Hopefully some of my personal experiences can help you. So today we're gonna talk about money. Money. A lot of immigrants, we don't like to talk about money. It's not the most enticing subject to talk about. There's a lot of pride that can go behind it as well, or sometimes shame for not knowing how to handle money. And so in episode 1, when I talked about things I wish I knew before moving to Canada, one of the things I touched on was knowing how the financial system works. I really wish I knew how that worked. So I decided to make a separate video talking about the financial system in Canada to the best of my ability. Disclaimer, y'all, I am not a financial educator. This is not financial advice. I'm just going to be speaking off of my personal experience, but I'm also going to be providing resources for you to also go check out more of that, including content creators who make content related to finances. One of the things about being an immigrant in Canada, especially from like the perspective of family who's living back home, is that they feel like once you move to Canada or just anywhere that them call foreign, that you're supposed to be rolling in money like just like that. And a lot of people don't understand that there are like certain steps in place that a lot of us kind of have to follow, and just understanding the financial system and being financially literate is going to be a big game changer in how you manage your money in a different country. And so in this video, I'm going to be breaking down like as much as I can so this video can be digestible. I'm going to be breaking it down in 4 parts. So we're going to be talking about how to choose a checking account, how to choose your credit card, how to choose a high interest savings account, and also knowing about the investment accounts that are available to you. I'm going to be mentioning a lot of resources in this video, so just so I'm not mentioning all the time for you to go check out the link in the description box, just know that everything that I'm mentioning in the video, go check out the description box for resources, or you can check the first comment as well. So first things first, checking account. So when you arrive to Canada, the first thing that you're going to be looking for is a checking account so that you can put your money in. So the way that you go about choosing a checking account is going to be different for different people based on your immigration status. So for example, I came as an international student, and so truth be told, I didn't really do any research or anything like that. I had a family member who was here and they pretty much like opened one for me when I arrived and was passing through to visit them before I went to my school. And so I pretty much kept that bank when I was a student, because where I was living in Newfoundland at the time, it was super close to me. It was walking distance, so I had no reason to go with another bank. Another thing is, a lot of the times, because you're a student, you are going to have a checking account that waives that monthly fee that you usually pay anyways, and so I just stuck with it, and they also gave me a credit card for me to use, which I will talk about in the next point. So what I would say is, if you're super invested in making sure you're choosing a checking account that is the best for you, here are 3 things that you're going to probably want to look at. So the first thing you're going to look at is, do they charge a monthly fee? And if you don't want to pay that monthly fee, then you might want to look into other resources such as online banks that usually don't charge you a monthly fee. Some examples of this would be Simply, EQ, I believe Tangerine. However, there are pros and cons, so I am going to be plugging one of my content creator friends right here who recently made a video about the pros and cons of online banking, comparing them with traditional banks so that you know what is the best option for you based on your situation. So go ahead, check out that video so you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. The second thing is, when I wasn't a student anymore, so I graduated, automatically the banks were going to be charging me that monthly fee because I don't have that student status anymore. And so I looked for other banks that I could go with, and one of the things that enticed me with going with my current bank, which is CIBC at the time, is that they had a welcome package of $300. So at the time, I was going to be moving to Toronto, and any little cash that I could have to help me out with any expenses would have been ideal. And so I decided to open up a bank account with CIBC for that purpose, and I got that $300 welcome bonus. And so that's another thing you can probably look at. What are some of the offerings that they have? Some may also offer like a credit card. I'm going to touch on that a bit more in the second point, but usually having a bank that also offers you a credit card is great because you're going to need credit cards to help to build up your credit in Canada. Another thing you can look at is, are there banks offering special packages or deals based on my immigration status? So two examples I'm gonna give is that CIBC as well as RBC, they currently have packages available for newcomers, and I believe this is mostly appropriate for you if you're coming not as an international student, but you're probably landed, so permanent resident, and you're thinking about working. They have specific deals that they offer that gives you like waiving certain fees for a certain amount of time, and some of them also come with a package of giving you a credit card, which sometimes is not the easiest thing for newcomers to get right as they come to Canada, and so knowing that you can get one immediately as a combo package is actually pretty good. So that is pretty much it for checking account. If I missed anything, please comment below. What are some of your suggestions? So let's talk about the best way for you to choose a credit card. Now, before I actually go into that, I want to say that getting a credit card in Canada is going to be something that is super beneficial for you because Canada is based off a credit system. I know a lot of us were coming from countries where it's really a cash-based system, building up a credit, things like that isn't really necessary, but for Canada it is super important. You will need a credit history for you to be able to rent things, for mortgages, for all different kind of to get loans, and so building up your credit, the best way to do that is through credit cards. Now later on we're going to talk about using credit cards responsibly, but for right now let us talk about some of the things that you need to consider when getting a credit card. Now I'm still learning as I go about the different credit card options out there, so what I would say is, instead of asking people what is the best credit card for me to choose, think about what is the best credit card for you based on your lifestyle and your needs. What do I mean by that? There are a lot of credit cards options out there. You have credit cards that are for cashback. There are credit cards that are points that you can redeem. There are credit cards that are out there for traveling benefits. So if you're someone who travels a lot, maybe that is a credit card you might opt for. If you're someone who loves to go to the movies, there are also credit cards for that. So again, there are a wide range of credit card options out there, but it's up to you to do the research to see what is the best one for me based on my lifestyle and how I want to live my life. Here are 3 things you want to look for when choosing a credit card. The first thing is that you want to look at, does it have an annual fee or not? So with a lot of the major banks, you'll realize that if a card has an annual fee, sometimes what they'll do to get you to take the credit card is that they will waive the annual fee for 1 year, but after that 1 year, just know that you will have to go to paying an annual fee on that card. However, what is good for you to know is that you can always choose to downgrade to another credit card before that year is up so that you don't have to pay that annual fee. The second thing is that you're going to look at the rewards that are offered. So as I mentioned before, depending on your needs, your lifestyles, you're going to choose a credit card that gives you these benefits. So I'm going to give you a perfect example. I recently got the new financial credit card, and the reason I got it is because I was looking for 2 things: a credit card that allows me to shop most places and redeem points and get cash back, and one that didn't have an annual fee, and Neo Financial offered that. And so I have been able to use my card, and like every month I'm like getting cash back, but it's because they have so many partners that they use. So like Amazon, Costco, some of the stores in the mall that I usually go to as well. So like there are a lot of options, but before I got the card, I made sure that I looked through to see who are their partners, are these places that I shop at frequently, how will this benefit me, before I went ahead and got the card. But the fact that they didn't have an annual fee was also a perk, because it's like, even if I didn't really use it that often, at least I wasn't paying an annual fee for a card that I barely used. So that would be an example. A second example of a card that I recently found out about that I'm going to be looking into for myself is the PC Financial Card, MasterCard, that's what it's called. So the PC Financial MasterCard. From what I've heard, you're able to use it anywhere, and you can redeem points, which you can then use towards buying groceries. Right now, we know how expensive groceries are, so if you're someone who's looking to cut back on your spending on groceries and you want a card that helps you to rack up points no matter where you use it, that seems like the ideal card for you to use. So again, do your research, read up to see what cards are best for you. The last thing you want to look at is what is the interest rate on the card. Okay, so there are some cards that have higher interest rates than others. To be honest, I'm not really sure what's the reason for some having higher ones than others, but the average interest rate for a credit card in Canada is 20.99%. Basically what that means is when you use your credit card and you don't pay off the balance, you will be charged this interest rate on the balance. All right, so now that you've gotten this credit card, don't be going out and being irresponsible with it now, okay? Remember, this country is based on a credit system. So if you use your credit card properly, you will be building good credit. If you use it poorly and irresponsibly, you will be building bad credit, and that can mess up a lot of things that you're able to do later on. The first thing to know is that credit cards are not free money. Okay, this is money that the bank is lending to you, and so you want to make sure that when you do use your credit card, it's because you have the money in your checking account that you can then pay off the credit card. That is how I've been using it recently. I'm not gonna lie, back in the day, you know, when your girl was in university, the credit card was being used as just vibes. If I felt like I wanted to treat myself, I just used my credit card. If I had an emergency, I just used my credit card. And I quickly realized that's not how I should be using the card, because that's how people can rack up debt eventually. The good thing for me, however, is that my parents taught me not to owe people money, and so if I was using my credit card, I always tried to like budget to make sure I'm paying off my credit card and that I wasn't just paying off the minimum balance. So that's the second thing. Do not just pay off the minimum balance. That is like the minimum that they suggest that you can pay. However, if you don't pay off your entire balance by the due date of your credit statement, your credit card statement, you will be charged interest. So that's where the interest comes in. So y'all can do the math on that. The third thing is that you want to utilize only 30% of your credit card. So if you go above that, that's going to kind of be telling the banks that you're not that great with money. And so those are some of the things to keep in mind with a credit card. Let us move on to talking about saving. Saving. So this is something I would say I was very good at while I was in university. I knew how to budget my money. I knew how to save up for like going to see my family, like all these things I did by myself. So I learned to do a lot of saving. But one of the things I didn't really know at the time is about how to save properly, like making my money work for me by putting my money in a high interest savings account. So I know a lot of you have probably opened up a savings account with like your traditional banks, right? And I don't know if anybody has noticed, but these banks are not giving you a lot of interest on the money that they are lending out to people at a very high interest. When I found out how much money I was actually getting from the bank at the end of the year, interest, I would say, like at the end of the year I would get like $5. That was the interest that they would look at me and give me. Crazy, right? Then I found out about EQ Bank. So I talked about ensuring that you're not using your credit card for emergencies. So saving is a great way for you to save for emergency. And I personally like to use EQ Bank because it allows me to do a couple of things. The first thing is that they have a high interest of 2.5%. That is way better than any other company out there that is giving any kind of interest for a high interest savings account. The second thing is that I can open up multiple savings accounts with this online bank. And so I have a savings account for travel. I have a savings account for emergency. If you are someone who has a spouse, you can have a joint savings account as well. And you're able to connect your main bank with it. So if you wanted to transfer money from your savings account to your checking account, you're also able to do that. If you want to connect it in a way that you want automatic payments to go from your checking to your savings account, you're also able to do that. That way you're actually intentionally saving money automatically without having to do it all the time. So it's like you're setting and forgetting it, and you'll see how much money you can save. Like it's pretty cool once you build up that habit. But yeah, for savings, y'all, we are only using high interest savings accounts, okay? So if you don't have an EQ Bank account yet and you want to get started with saving, I have a link in the description box where you can get $50 when you sign up with my link. The last thing that we're going to end off with is the different kind of investment accounts that are available. Now, this is something that I did not know until, I would say, 2020. Is when I was finding out about some of these. And as someone who was working like a big girl job since 2018, I wish I knew a lot of these things before. So Let's start with what they call the RRSP. So even though RRSP stands for Registered Retirement Savings Plan, I later found out that this was an account that I could actually use to invest in and not just save in. Especially if I'm trying to save and gain a certain amount of money over a period of time, simply saving is not going to help me get to my goal. And so when I found out that I could invest, that's what I started doing. Another thing that I learned a bit later on is that the company that I was working for, they would match my contribution in my RRSP, which was pretty cool. And so I would encourage you that if you start working, maybe even before you take a job, you can ask questions like this, finding out if they have contribution matching for RRSP, because that will let you know what perks and benefits you're actually getting from the companies that you're working from. The second thing, the TFSA. So this stands for a tax-free savings account. And even though just like the RRSP, it has savings in the name, it's actually best to use it as an investment account. And so that's what I started doing. What you'll also learn is that you have a certain contribution room limit of how much you can save and invest in your TFSA. And so if you're someone, for example, that you're looking to buy a house, or you want to go back to school, you want to start a business, this is the perfect account for you to save and invest money that will be tax-free. So utilize this benefit to y'all. It is tax-free money. Why not utilize it to save some money? Another investment account which is pretty new is called the FHSA. So this is for first-time home buyers. It helps them to save money towards buying a home if this is the first time they're buying a house. And so what was happening in the past is that a lot of people, for them to buy a house, what they were doing is they were either saving up in their TFSA to get the down payment, or we were also allowed to use a portion of our RRSP towards buying a home. And so now for anyone who wants to buy a home for the first time, you don't have to go and dig into your RRSP, you don't have to go into your tax-free savings. You can utilize this new account that is specifically for those who want to buy a house. However, realistically, the amount that you're able to save in there is $8,000 a year. Realistically, $40,000 for a down payment on a house, especially if you're living in certain provinces like Ontario, is not going to be realistic. So just look at this as extra money that you can use in addition to if you're saving money in your tax-free savings account, or if you still want to utilize money from your RRSP. And the last one, which is perfect for parents, is the RESP. It stands for Registered Education Savings Plan. And this will help parents who want to save money towards their children's education for post-secondary education. Y'all, school is expensive, education is expensive, and so you can start saving towards your child's education, I believe, from the minute they are born with this account. So more information about this you can check out online. Again, resources will be in the description box below. Oh, y'all, that was a mouthful, but I really hope that you found it helpful. Like as I mentioned, there is a way for you to build wealth in Canada. You just have to be aware of the different opportunities that are available to you. What I'll say is, if you want to get to learn more and build up your financial literacy, especially for personal finances, there is a free course that you can take that was formed by the McGill University. The link is going to be in the description box for that. I recently did it and I learned so much. Like, there's so much you can always learn about money and making money, investing money, and just being more financially stable. Of course, if you want to save and invest and live a comfortable life, the income has to come from somewhere. And so in the next video, I'm going to be talking about things I guess I wish I knew about employment in Canada. So hopefully y'all will get some insights from that video as well. Let me know if you have any questions that I can answer in that video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!